In the summer of 1956, Dartmouth Conference launched the field of AI and coined the term artificial intelligence. Then, from 1974 to the early 1980s, AI experienced the first winter period, and the second winter period from 1987 to 1993, with reduced funding and lowered interest as hype turned to disappointment. Today, artificial intelligence is changing the fundamental structure of every industry faster than ever, in areas ranging from healthcare to finance to commerce to education and more. Our guest, Andrew Maximov, is listed on Forbes 30 Under 30. He is the founder of Promethean AI and is building the world's first artificial intelligence that works together with artists to build virtual worlds.
I still remember the first time we built something together. It was like being a kid again. Just you and your imagination. And where do you want to go? What do you want to create?
Andrew, where do you want to lead us, and what exactly you are creating that you are willing to share with us today? I know this is a work in progress.
Very much so. At Promethean AI, we're building artificial intelligence that is going to help people build virtual worlds of their liking. And so, by all intents and purposes, we do not intend to lead you as so much as empower you. We want to give you the ability to build your own virtual world and invite other people into it. We want it to be social. We want technology to be inclusive. We want everyone to participate in the abundance of virtual worlds that are going to be created in the future. And we see Promethean as being instrumental in helping people do that.
Cool. So here's a cut-down version of Promethean AI announcement video. Let's watch it.
Promethean is what we call semantically aware. It has a conceptual understanding of what real-world objects represent and how they relate to each other. Now, if you want to edit the space, all you have to do is express high-level creative intent by moving the object in the general area of where you want it and telling Promethean to fix the rest. It will make sure that the orientation and placement of all involved objects is properly adjusted. You can also give Promethean spatial commands like move something to the corner or to the center of the space, or move something next to another object, calling them out by name. Another convenient feature is asking Promethean for asset variations. It knows what goes where, so you can just ask. Same goes for objects that appear on or next to other objects. Just ask and Promethean will generate a palette for you that you can use to quickly populate the space while retaining full artistic control. Promethean AI functionality is built to complement the core artistic process, taking care of all of the boring stuff so that you can focus on the fun parts. It also fully supports color and material workflows while providing you with intelligent suggestions based on color theory and composition. Finally, here's an example of one of the more fascinating semantics-based features that we've been working on that allows you to edit seemingly abstract concepts like messiness with a simple slider. Plus, it is absolutely mesmerizing to watch.
Andrew, how will it benefit the public?
Well, the hope is, as I've been mentioning before, that we know that virtual worlds are coming, right? It's It's inevitable, it's very practical, especially once a lot more of the virtual co-working starts kicking in, once we can share a virtual space to do work and see each other there, even if we're a million miles apart. And so that is the exciting part, because we essentially will provide people more agency over these spaces. We want them to be social, we want them to be creative. Right now when you're stuck in an office, it's the same office every day. When you're in a virtual space, it can be a different office every day. Everyone can see a different version of the same office every day. And the spare time that you spend there socializing with other people could be more like an adventure. You can, go to 18th century London and then transport yourself to a tropical island and then a foreign planet, and all of that. Some kind of technology will have to build for you, and we're building that technology.
So we can change our space whenever we want to.
Very much so. And a big part of that technology is also just democratizing the interaction process, because even for more trivial things like augmented reality, when you, for example, are picking out a new piece of furniture and you want to preview it in your space using your tablet or something like that, currently it's still a very manual process of I'm dragging my finger around a tablet to specify where it goes, but Promethean comprehends spaces. So you can say, you know what, let's move this over to the chimney and see how that's going to look like. And then Promethean can take it from there. It actually knows what objects are and how they relate to each other, so it will find the correct position for you.
Disruptive technologies are transforming our democracy. Do you agree? Take your Promethean AI project as an example, please.
Of course. It's interesting because I'd say that more than democracy, I think they're going to put an interesting test onto capitalism in many ways, because what happens is we are creating value day to day, right? And something that all of this artificial intelligence technology allows for is actually learning how other people execute their work so that we can extract that, preserve that, and save that, essentially. And so that obviously brings in a lot of questions of how we're going to deal with that. And it's understandable, and I don't think there's anyone who disagrees, that this is the future, that there's so much value to be created from this that it's undeniable that it's going to happen. But to me, a lot of the time, that particular argument feels a little bit like a cop-out, because there's so much more unexplored, talking about all of the radiologists that are going to be out of work because artificial intelligence can analyze your x-rays better than most people can. And I think that is the bigger social question. Like, everyone has a democratic right to refuse progress to everyone else if the value generated from that is not equally distributed. And so I think the real challenge is going to be is how do we balance the desire to create value and not make it so one-sided that big parts of society are excluded. And the other part of that is very interesting is because we fundamentally have created technology that can sort of record how you execute your work and then perform it without you, fundamentally. That also means that our understanding of what value is and how it relates to an individual is going to change, because if you can record yourself executing work, then how is that not the same as recording music and then charging people for listening to your song every time? So the same way we can abstract our knowledge and skills, put them in a box, and then every time they're executed, someone can get compensated, and it's not necessarily that everyone has to work, for example. So there's going to be a lot more social changes that we're going to have to be adjusting towards, which is a process that is very scary but also very empowering, because we can create a lot more value than has been ever created. The trade-off we have here is if we do not use that technology, then how many lives potentially are going to be lost, because AI is better at predicting particular diseases in x-rays, or due to self-driving cars not being adopted because they're going to be verifiably safer than human drivers. And so making that choice of how do we create all that value and also find a way to take care of the people who are going to be potentially displaced when it comes to work is the challenge. And something that we take to heart at Promethean, and something that for us is a big focus is, with the technology that we're building, we want to fundamentally empower the people whose job is going to be augmenting. So in a lot of the creative industries, if you want to do art, if you want to be a sculptor or a texture artist or a concept artist for video games or film, you're fundamentally at the mercy of people who have $100 million to invest into a production. You don't just get to execute on your passion on your own financial terms, because the investment upfront is so big. And so for us, it's very important to, by unleashing that technology out in the world, to bring down that cost and actually empower more individuals to express themselves creatively, to build worlds, to tell stories, to entertain and delight other people without fundamentally being dependent on gigantic budgets and gigantic corporations backing them. And so that's kind of the philosophy one can take behind that particular technology is you don't necessarily just build technology that performs the work for someone. You build the technology that fundamentally empowers. And that's a big focus for us. We see Promethean as a mech suit for your brain or as a bicycle for the mind. It's all about power amplification. How can we make sure that you communicate about your work only the things you care about, and then we can infer and extrapolate everything else. And so in that sense, we want to make everyone superhuman, because just by saying what you want, we can execute the work, we can build a space. You can take a person off the street and have them use Promethean, and they'll be, you know, a 50-60% video game artist of today, which is crazy. But when you give that same technology to a video game artist of today, all of a sudden they become 1,000% of what an average video game artist is. And that's the compelling thought, that we can create so much more value, but also we can bring back the focus on the individual.
She has the drive, but there are still big hurdles ahead. At Junior Achievement, we're helping her overcome them by teaching her major life skills, like setting a budget and starting her career, so she's ready for what's ahead and can achieve 100% bigger dreams, like going from running races to running companies. Junior Achievement, 100 years, 100% ready.
So what do you think the biggest impact your AI project will have on this society?
Oh, well, the focus for us, right, is to make this inclusive, is to make it social, make the virtual world social. And I think something that not a lot of people give a lot of credit to social media for is that one of the biggest things that they've accomplished, in my opinion, is they've turned most people on the internet from a content consumer to a content creator. They gave everyone the easiest way to have a website, be an author, and have an audience, and find like-minded people. And for all intents and purposes, in order to do the same leap when it comes to social virtual reality and being together in virtual spaces, we're going to need some kind of technology like that. That is not just going to have everyone be in the same predetermined space, but is going to allow everyone to be a master and commander of their own virtual space. And so once we do that, I believe that we'll have a lot more social interaction, because it's interesting. If you think about technology like FaceTime, one of the fascinating statistics that I read somewhere was that a lot of the adopters for that tech were actually elderly people, because they wanted to stay in touch with their kids. And so video chat was a great way to do it. And we very much envisioned that in the future, that's how you want to communicate with your family. You want to be together.
Will that be your main focus?
That's part of it, because if we allow everyone to build any type of virtual space, that is automatically included, because then your grandparents can just be, oh, you know, it wouldn't be great if we could just be in a living room with a fireplace with our kids, and then you're in that virtual space, and then people can just sort of join you and have that virtual experience together. But you see each other, you can see each other's faces, you can articulate, your hands are captured digitally, so that social process is very interesting. And we're not currently tackling that entire spectrum, because there's so much that goes into that. There's the network components, the rendering components, but the part that allows people to actually take command of these virtual spaces and not be sort of intimidated by the technology around them when they're in the virtual reality, but feel like they're in control, is what we're building.
Our audience are very much interested in this topic, AI technology. We collect several questions, but we pick two. First one is from Stephen Brunet. He's the founder of Entrepreneur Mastermind Group and the founder and CEO of Stephen Brunet Tax Resolution. The question is, what do you foresee AI accomplishing in the next 10 years?
Oh, a lot. A lot. And the exciting part of it is, so the technology underlying AI is fundamentally there, right? We're improving it, and there's definitely a rapid pace, but something that we have nowhere near scratched the surface currently is actually applying that technology in real world scenarios. Because what current artificial intelligence is great at is the sort of pattern recognition and generalization, and being able to take a look at some data and then abstract some kind of decision-making process from that, and then either do classification or inference, making some kind of decision based on that data, sort of predicting forward, making a prediction. And the applications from this vary so much. Like one of the more famous examples is there was a farmer in Japan, and he was a former engineer who retired or just wanted to spend more time with his parents, I believe. And so his mother used to always complain about sorting cucumbers as being a very boring task. And so with the modern AI technology, it didn't take him long to literally build a cucumber classifier that would use some Raspberry Pi computers attached to it and some motors to automatically sort different types of cucumbers through sort of this very simple homemade technology fundamentally. And this is one of the applications, but then imagine that on a gigantic industrial scale. Any type of business can automatically distinguish one set of assets from the other, can assist its people with making decisions. And there's going to be some very big decisions, who to give a loan, or what kind of treatment to suggest for a patient. All of that is going to be dramatically augmented by artificial intelligence, where all of these suggestions are going to come from these systems, and then humans are going to be the ones making final decisions behind that. But anything that can come with optimizing any kind of network of data and making it more efficient and empowering humans to make more informed decisions, there's not going to be an industry that is untouched by that. In many ways, AI is going to be as disruptive as the internet was at some point.
Oh, very interesting. So another question is from Michael Rosenthal. He's the chairman of the International Emerging Europe Business Council and also the founder and president of US Green Solution. His question is, in what ways AI will change the world for the better?
I think obviously a lot of the things that we've touched on apply there, but there also, I think, a big part that AI empowers currently that we haven't touched on that I think is going to be very interesting, and that is it also allows us to make technology a lot more humane through vision, through speech, through voice recognition, all of the sort of household devices that a lot of people have gotten accustomed to, like Alexas and the OK Google type devices. They're in a lot of ways driven by AI-based voice recognition, but also speech generation is another part of that. We used to have technology that was very limited as far as the bandwidth of input. Your fingers and what you type was the amount of data that could go through. But now we have technology that can not only take your inputs, it can also look around, it can comprehend sound, so it can see and hear just as much as you do, which is fascinating because we can essentially have these virtual assistants that we carry with us in the form of a smartwatch or something like that can be aware of your surroundings and give you advice, give you suggestions, say, oh, whatever, look out, there's a car, or monitor your health. So there's so many implications that are going to change the world for the better, but also make technology a little bit more humane, because there's a big difference between typing something that you're looking for and communicating with something, and there's a lot of comfort to be gained from this. For example, one of the features that we actually have implemented in Promethean AI is developing computer graphics. Video games, film is a lot of work. It's a lot of overtime, and so one of the things that we do to cheer people up is you can actually ask Promethean to find something nice that people say about your project or your company. And then on the back end, we actually have a Twitter client that looks for everything that people say about the project that you're building, and then if someone's really excited by it or can't wait, or they express something positive, we can actually use AI to do sentiment analysis on that and find you that information. So then your technology is also your biggest cheerleader, is trying to encourage you and say, hey, there are all these people who care about what you do. It's going to be great. Just stick with it a little longer. It's going to be fantastic. And we think that that's the kind of future that we all deserve, where technology is not only just solving problems for us, but it makes us happier. It makes us nicer to each other, and also allows us to know that there are other people who care.
Yeah, right. So you were listed on Forbes 30 under 30. How would you like to be known? An artist, an innovator, a programmer, an entrepreneur, or what?
Oh, geez, that's a complicated question. But honestly, to me, the biggest focus has been, I've started with building virtual spaces as a sort of the start of my career. And then I think my focus eventually shifted to helping people. It was realizing that there's so much to this creative process, there's so much complexity and sort of boring, mundane aspects of it, that helping people was the biggest thing that I started caring about. And that's the only thing I care about today. So honestly, both the entrepreneur, the technologies, all of that is irrelevant to me. They're all a byproduct of trying to make a difference, trying to make someone's life easier, trying to help someone accomplish their childhood dreams, tell a story, share a lesson that they learned, bring people together. That is what matters. So as long as I can say that I helped someone, that's good enough for me.
That's amazing. Thank you. Andrew, for sharing your knowledge.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
World-renowned physicist Stephen Hawking said that while AI has a potential to transform society, it could be used to eradicate poverty and disease, for example. And society, he said, must be prepared for that eventuality. It could also be the worst event in the history of our civilization and bring great disruption to our economy.